Yeah, they're going live, so I don't know. Sorry. Okay, right back. All right. So, hello. Thank you for joining IOD Nations today. We're having a little technical difficulties with one of our people here at Karma is going to be a little bit sidelined. So, we are here with Jackie and we are with Social. And I'm so sorry I mispronounced that name. And there's Draco and Rakesh and Kurt. And I'm not sure if Joel's here or not. I want to say thank you to all these people who are here today. What we're going to be talking about a little bit is women's rights. Obviously, this is Suffragette Saturday, and some of the things that we would like to have changed. Obviously, under the current regime, they want things to get worse, not better. Then we're going to go into why are we where we're at, right? And there's a little bit of information about what this current administration regime, whatever you want to call it, is doing to us right now. And we're going to have a couple videos so you can kind of see the future they're envisioning. And then we're going to go into the fact that we could flip that switch and not have that be the case. And how can we do that? If we all virtually help one another. Because what's happening here isn't just in the US, is they want this elsewhere. And I have some information on that as well. So we're going to look into all that. Um, and at the end, Jackie is going to give some information about this brighter future that we could paint that isn't this dystopian nightmare that these people want. So, I think a lot of the women in here understand that there are um, obviously inequalities. Some of the things that Karma had brought up were the price of being a woman and the reproductive rights, the economic inequality, how that's all kind of connected together. Um, we have a large wage gap, and obviously that's getting worse. And not only is there a wage gap, they're trying to do things like say, if you want to be a teacher, you want to be a physical therapist, or you want to be a physician assistant, well, then those are no longer health professions. So you can't get these federal loans to get into the professions to get a wage. What these guys want to do, and they want to take away no fault divorce, which means you have to prove, right, that it's okay to get a divorce versus it's not healthy and you leave. They don't want that. And they also defunded domestic violence help for you to be able to get out. If you have no economic means to leave, whether that be through your own wherewithal because you're not allowed to get a degree that you can, because you have to afford to be able to get one. You have no money to get one. You have no money in your pocket, and you have no one who can help you get out of an abusive situation. Guess what? You're stuck in that abusive situation. And that's what they want. And that's not what we're going to stand for. um, and I'm sorry, go for it. Did you want to say something, Draco? Okay. So anyways, in addition to that, I don't know if you guys are aware, but as of very early of 2025, they went through and they got rid of the Institute for Women's Health, which basically researches women's health, right? So if you have postpartum depression issues, how about not dying during childbirth and right afterwards? Or lactation problems or perimenopausal or, any of these issues, you can't research that on a man. And that's until about 30 years ago or so in America, they never did research on women. And it was only in the last 25 years or so that we found out that, oh, we have different symptoms for heart attacks because they actually did research on women. So it's very important that we have that. And guess what? They got rid of that. But they did keep the men's research, right? If we're getting their heart-ons. Just afterwards, when we get pregnant, if we die, well, who cares about that? And they've actually stopped logging violence against women. And in some of these states, they've stopped logging the amount of women dying because they're not being given abortion as health care. If you are miscarrying and you're not giving abortion care, you can die. And sepsis rates are going up, but they're not logging it, right? Because if you don't see it, it didn't happen. And they got rid of the Department of Women's Rights. Rubio did that, I think, in July of 2025. So there's a lot of reasons why we as women need to band together. And there's obviously reasons we need, feminism, because we still have Rape Academy and no one there has been prosecuted that I know of so far. And they say that 62 or 63 million visited that one site 1 month. The next month, it was over 80 million, right? It's pervasive. The fact that we have, the Epstein files still has not come out. We don't have over half the material isn't been given out. It was an act of Congress to put that information out. And they haven't prosecuted not one man in this. And now the whispers are that after they took Maxwell, who was convicted during Biden's administration and put away in maximum security prison, she's not only been downgraded to a club fed with a puppy, now they're thinking about pardoning her. So it's not justice for women. It is justice for men. And if you want to look at all the, people who've been fired in this administration, did they deserve to be fired? Yes. Yes. But here's the thing, they're all incompetent, and the only people they're going after are the women. And they may go after Patel next, but he's not white, is he? Right? They're just shields to men's incompetence. And I'm not saying all men, because obviously Peg's Breath replaced a four-star general with over 41 years experience. He was a black man. They got rid of him and they replaced him with someone who, yes, he'd been in the military for a couple years. He had no Pentagon experience. He'd been in two veteran stations. He'd been kicked out of both. And you can go look at the articles in regards to financial mismanagement, to alcohol use, etc. So he has no business being where he's at. It's all disgusting. So the information I kind of wanted to go over today was, now we have a good summary of a lot of the things that aren't right for women and that we need to correct. I think if you want to look at this regime right now, I think a lot of people know, okay, well, Bassett is working with Lugnick, and Lugnick is the Secretary of Commerce, but I don't think a lot of people know like the behind the scenes of all of that. And there's quite a bit of information there. So this is some of the stuff I wanted to discuss. We have Ellison, and people have talked about TikTok. And yes, he got into that. And yes, he actually got into CNN. And this Paramount, unfortunately, merger, which violates monopoly laws, went through. Okay. And so they can gaslight us more. That isn't that nice. But Ellison's Oracle, that's the bigger issue. I mean, well, I don't know if it's bigger, but it's definitely huge. His basically database, it houses information, and it is the backbone of a lot of what we do in America, government wise, security wise, defense wise. It's also a backbone to the IDF in that country we're not supposed to name. It is also a good portion of what's in the UK. I don't know if people know that in the UK. And not only is it the database, he bought Cerner and information, your healthcare information in the UK. And then now there's the digital ID. Okay. And it is about locking people down. Okay. And so you have that, and then you have this evil Peter Thiel. My opinion, I can have one. And I think he was born in Germany and he was raised in South Africa. And Peter Musk was also raised in South Africa. They're both quite racist, in my opinion. You should go look into their fathers. And I'll just say the apple does not fall far from the tree, and it's not a good tree. It's pretty bad. So this Peter Thiel, one of his businesses is Palantir. He has Foundry. He has a number of others. If you know of Lord of the Rings, he basically named his companies after the evil portions of Lord of the Rings. And it's the evil seeing eye that's everywhere. All right. And it's basically an AI. And so when you have flocks in your area, which are cameras that have a AI behind it, now it's not just watching you, they're upgrading so they can listen to you. What is that? The AI. Okay, well, when you're on your phone right now, when you're in your car and you're using the GPS and it has a link to your cell phone, it's listening. Your TVs, it's listening. Those cameras that you watch your TV on, right? That can be used against you and they can see you there. Your laptop cameras can be used to see you. Your phones can be used to see you, right? All this information is piled into this AI, and then they analyze everything. And this AI has been put on top of, I think it's something like 15% of our healthcare information at this point, right? And then we have OpenAI, which is Sam Altman, and he has baggage. You can go look into the allegations his sister has made against him. and go look into multiple, like do research on Google. Does Sam Altman lie? Are there any articles on that? You go look into that. That OpenAI, which doesn't have limits, doesn't have red lines, right? That's in our government right now, which is a very scary thing. But the Palantir, that is also on top of the Oracle that's in that country I cannot name with Ellison. Okay, so when they're going and we had this war for no reason, Putin's making more money on his oil so he can continue to go into Ukraine. And, Bibi can go into Lebanon and steal that for himself, and over 100,000 people are displaced from that. Well, then guess what? Then Oracle and Palantir can go into there. And people, want to say this is an American problem. All these people I'm talking about, other than Sam Altman, they're all born in other countries. The issue, central issue, is they're all billionaires. And if you look at Palantir isn't just in the United States, you guys. It's in Canada, it's in Australia, it's in Switzerland, I think it's in Switzerland, it's in France, I want to say like 20 different countries. All right. So it's in Oracle, obviously, is already in the UK, and they got your health data. And I mean, so this is a global problem. I'm bringing it up for a reason, because we're going to need a global solution to it. All right. Anywho, and obviously Musk has all his satellites, which a lot of you guys in different countries are using. All right. Now we're going to get into this government and what they're doing and what they're about. I don't know if you guys have heard of Tether or have heard of Cantor Fitzgerald, which the Lutnicks are involved with, our Secretary of Commerce. I believe the allegation was that the FBI had flagged him for money laundering just days before they made him the Secretary of Commerce. That's an allegation. You can go look into that. I do know that Bannon, he was supposed to be in prison, and they pulled him out of prison. He'd taken money for this Mexico wall and done something inappropriately with it. So he was in jail when they pulled him out and made him like some strategic advisor to the White House. So it's anyways. And right now, Lutnick's sons have his bank, and they've made all this money off these tariffs, because tariffs are a tax on the small business. They didn't expect to have that tax or costs, and then they had to go get loans from people like his kid's bank. Isn't that nice? And then they kept these illegal executive tariffs on, because only Congress can levy taxes on the people. And they kept them on there. They've been giving out, oh, well, now the courts are saying it's illegal, which it was the whole time, and they all knew that. And they're just not giving money back until, oh, well, I guess a lot of these people will go bankrupt. Here's this piece of paper that says eventually we'll get your money back. Well, that can't feed your family. So these assholes are giving in something like 20 or 30 cents on the dollar to get those pieces of paper, which later will have a full refund. So they're making money on the front end and on the back end. Yeah, they're involved in something called Tether, and you want to look into that, in cryptocurrency. And with the Genius Act over last summer, that allows people to take money, give it to the bank. The bank can buy US Treasury bonds. Then the bank can convert that into cryptocurrency. And with the money that they make off that, this is where it gets, in my opinion, hinky, other than the cryptocurrency. They can go back and buy more debt. Understand that they will make more and more money off those fees, and we will go further and further in debt. It's not cool. I really suggest you go listen to Zev Shalev here on Substack. He has done some really amazing analysis in regards to this whole cryptocurrency thing. All right. In addition to the cryptocurrency at that level, then you have the Trump family themselves, who created this World Financial Bank. Guess what? It's a crypto bank. So now we have cryptocurrency that we are dealing in, and we have the crypto bank. By the way, Zev goes into how this is all in the Epstein files, and how it looks like allegations that this was a way that Russia could leapfrog the United States by going to a new currency. And then they could basically bankrupt us. And billionaires love Great Depression, do you guys, because they get to buy up everything on the cheap. And this isn't just causing a Great Depression for America in the very near future. It is going to be causing global recessions worldwide. This whole thing with Hormuz, you guys, it is oil. Obviously, that's going to impact everybody. That impacts making medicines. It impacts medical equipment. It impacts like so many different things. And then just plain shipping. So even shipping your food is going to be more expensive. And they're already seeing food shortages in Australia because they are an island like Cuba. If you don't have enough fuel, how do you ship things there? It's also about fertilizer. And right now, it's too expensive. The farmers in the United States aren't going to be able to use all the fertilizer they want because they won't be able to afford to get it. They'll put a little bit of fertilizer on. And last year, with the tariffs, 15,000 farmers went under. Go look at Project 2025. That was part of the plan. You bankrupt them, you get to buy them on the cheap. Peter Thiel, his name's popping up again with Vance, went and bought into Acre Trader. So then they get to buy up all these farms on the cheap. Well, this year, because they won't have enough fertilizer, the only way American farmers stay in business, everything has went up in price except for what they're being paid for their product. Their product, they aren't getting hardly any more money than they were 40 years ago, 50 years ago. So they have to increase productivity to stay in business. So guess what's going to happen? It's going to be a farm apocalypse, and all these different countries. So, the billionaires here can buy it up on the cheap, and then they can sell it to China. They can sell it to wherever and make all this money. And globally, they have been saying that this is going to be, with the Hormuz thing, energy shortages for not just this year, but multiple years, because they're bombing the actual source of oil and natural gas. So it's affecting supplies in the long term and our environment. And they're also saying that there's going to be global starvation, global food shortages. All right. So this is like global evilness as far as I'm concerned. Okay. So now you understand a little bit about that, okay, and where they want to go. I was hoping that either Draco or Rakesh, one of those people could, we have two different videos. They were in those union emails. If they could please like play those two. There's number 1 and number 2, and this will give you a little bit of an idea of like the dystopian future that they would like. Could one of you guys play those videos? If they can't, then I'll just give you
Yes,
some
Ceci,
general
I
information.
can play those videos. Give me just 1 minute. All right.
Okay.
While he's getting that ready, I do want you all to know that the future depends on us. And one of the things that I understand as an anthropologist is that people get resigned and cave in when there's too much coming at them, and they don't see that a sacrifice is worth trading for a brighter future. And one of the things that I think we have to remember as we really take stock of where we are right now in the current trajectory is that the future is up to us, not as individuals for society and the world, but what we do together. And the key is that there are many, many more of us than there are of the tyrants. So I just want you all to have some hope. And I'll be talking about that a little bit more a little later. Draco, are you ready for the video?
Yes, I'm
The other
ready.
thing I'll say with you guys that are listening here is that at the end, we actually have a plan. There is a plan to counter this.
Yes, there is. Thank you. Go ahead and play the video then. I just wanted to fill in the time we had while we were waiting for you to get ready. Thank you.
Good morning, citizens. Your overnight account balances have been updated. Time to start a productive day. Final notice, your account balance is below 500. You need 50 credits by the end of the day to avoid automatic eviction. If you have missed work due to illness, you must provide a doctor's note to reclaim your credits.
Any extra credits? Please. Tensions are high today, with more people planning to join the Citizens Against Digital Control protest. Remember, the government knows who you are at all times. Resisting is not worth the consequences. All of their newest social credit systems are designed to keep you and your families safe and efficient.
Authorities seized a record balance of an individual's credits, citing excessive hoarding.
Traffic violation detected. 7 miles per hour over the limit. 75 credits have been automatically deducted.
You have to be fucking kidding me.
Yep, you got the flu. Your blood work shows a significant iron deficiency. I recommend incorporating more red meat into your diet.
Dr. Jones, your taxes were not filed and have been automatically deducted with late fees. Your medical license has been revoked.
Oh, hell nah, I filed an extension.
Purchase denied. Monthly red meat allowance exceeded. Try mealworms instead.
Can you guys please let me through?
Attention! Unauthorized political gathering detected. Participants' access to financial services has been suspended. Due to the speeding infraction, your car will be immobilized for 3 days.
Fuck you! Take your surveillance policies and rot in hell!
You've earned 50 bonus credits for reporting your neighbor's hateful misconduct. This content exceeds your current social credit tier. May we suggest citizen responsibility? Sarah, open the door. You have been identified by the authorities. Don't resist. Don't resist. Don't resist.
So that, you guys, is basically, when we're talking about them using this cryptocurrency and them trying to flip the switch to a cryptocurrency, that allows every single thing you do to be watched, to be monitored, and to be shut off. All right. And China uses your social credits. So let's say you say something online, like, boy, he's a shithead, or whatever you want to say. Well, guess what? Now they turn off your social media. They limit what you can see from the rest of the world, which they are already doing that. But they could, these KOSHA, Kids Online Safety Acts that they're trying to put through, that's not about kids' safety. Obviously, when Musk is putting out, hey, here's a picture of a little kid and you can, with an AI, make it naked, they don't care about safety online. Still haven't prosecuted him for that. This is about attaching your ID to your social media so they can control you. The mealworms, the red meat thing, just to let you know, Gates is all about the food. Go look into Appeal. Go look into the fact that he's fine with people eating insects. Insects are really, they're very nutritious for you. Is that what you want to do? I'm sure he won't be doing that. All right. And so I'm just telling you about, in policy, what they already have, what they are currently doing with cryptocurrency, what they already have Trump involved with the bank, of course, because, he'll make money off that. His family will make money off that. But we don't want a digital currency. We don't want digital ID attached to everything so that they can have a future like this. Now, I want you to understand what the problems are so we can counter it. I don't want there to be hopelessness. I want you to be invigorated to understand that there is a lot at stake. So put a fire under your butt to get something done. Okay, that's where I'm trying to go with that. All right. So at this point, knowing what we know, all right, and understand that in the last week or so, I don't know if it's China or Japan, they sold like $330 billion of our US Treasury bonds, our debt. Okay. And buying our debt means that they believe that they're gonna get paid back at some future time. If they are selling the debt, they don't think they're gonna get their money back. Okay. In June, our debt comes due, you guys, and we need them to buy more of our debt. If they're selling off right now, they aren't going to be buying. Who are some of the biggest buyers of our debt? Japan, and China. Okay, I don't know if these big banks are gonna, they want things to stay afloat till the midterms, I know, but this war has escalated the collapse. It is going to collapse. It's just when it's going to happen. All right. So we can go towards that dystopian future that they want, or we have a plan. we can do something else, you guys. So if we were to globally unite, and that's what IOD Nations is about. It's about virtual citizenry, us globally connecting, because this isn't being done by Americans or freaking even the Russian people don't want to be put in meat factories to die. This is about oligarchs. This is about the billionaires. This is about they are controlling the system for their own profits. Okay. And Palantir's making a lot of money, and Ellison's going to make a lot of money, and Trump's going to make a lot of money. Okay. The people don't want this. So let's globally unite. And if we do it virtually, you guys, there's a lot more things we can be doing other than this. But right now, so that we could flip the switch, so that we could get more women's rights, not less, so we can help each other. All right. We could crowdsource solving global starvation problems. We could do that, you guys. But for right now, how do we flip this switch when these people have overextended themselves? They bought AI data centers, they're buying multimedia, they have overextended. BlackRock is limiting sometimes the amount of money that they're giving people. They're over leveraged. They're at their weakest point right now. That gives us a small window of opportunity to act. All right. If we can make this collapse onto them, if we move our money, the unions have retirement funds globally. If they move their money out of the BlackRocks and Vanguards and State Streets and JP Morgans and Deutsche Banks and Bank of America and these banks that are in, some of which have been found involved with those files. The Palantirs, the Oracles, the Metas, right? The OpenAI, 3 of which have leadership positions now, lieutenant colonels in our American military. So the companies that profit off of war and surveillance are leading the war machine, right? And these are the people who back the people who are in power right now. So if you move your money out of those big banks and out of those companies that are hurting globally, it's not just everywhere, they're hurting everyone, okay? If we move them into other areas that are small banks, into smaller companies, then we actually are investing in our communities. We're investing in our own countries, in the people. So if things go in a different direction, they can't force that digital currency on us because the people who want that won't have their money anymore. Like that's one thought process. So right now, this is kind of what we would like to do is we are looking at a union letter to send out globally. If you know of union leaders anywhere, you can just ask them. You can ask them a simple question. You can say, are you looking to move your retirement funds and invest them in smaller areas? Divest from the big banks and the big companies that are hurting us and take that money and move it and invest it in other areas. That's what capitalism is, you guys, is moving your money. That's what good Americans are supposed to do. So let's look at moving our money. And here's the question I have of all of you is May 1st is coming up. And that is globally a day where people say the people take the power back. And there's global movements going on. If we can get this union idea, this letter that we're sending out to everyone on May 1st, and we move all together, we are way more powerful than that 1%. We could turn this all around, you guys. We could flip the switch. So, Jackie, I know you wanted to talk about this brighter future that we could do if we flip this switch, and I want people to go empowered from this meeting. Go for it.
All right. Thanks very much, AC, and thanks for covering the ground that you did. I think it's really important for us to understand that there's a long history of divestiture from funds that the students in the 60s and 70s and 80s demanded that their universities stop investing their funds, and because universities have investments in order to keep their, I'm trying to think of the word. Somebody help me out here. There's a word for it and it just escaped me. But they get big donations, and then they keep them in an investment fund so that they're using the donation to earn interest, and out of the interest, then they can expend that interest on different projects to grow the university and maintain it and add additional things. And I can't remember what the name of those funds are at the moment. But in any case, students would protest together. This is a key. Everybody needs to listen to this. No single student could get their university to divest of funds, investments in oil or nuclear or the Nigerian gold mines alone. Students had to band together to make this demand. And this is one of my key points about building a brighter future, is that we don't do it by ourselves. We don't do this as lone wolves. You know, the era of the lone wolf is over. Every person for themselves has to be over, or humanity's kind of done. So I just want to say that this tactic that AC is going to talk about in more depth is extremely effective when enough people make the demand. Over at Standards Not Force on Substack and former Black Panther Speaks on YouTube, Dr. Dillard, who is a physician, a lawyer, a businessman, and a former Black Panther. He's older. You know, he must be at least in his 60s. I'm not sure how old he is, but I know that he's been around the block a time or two, and he's building out this big organization over there. And one of the things that he says is that protests are a relief valve for the emotional pressure. The protests without demands are not very helpful. So what I'd like to do is suggest that you make demands of the groups that you're involved in, and you can do demands politely, you can be kind about it, but you do need to be insistent. You do need to assert yourself. So if you have any unions that you can contact, maybe you are a member of a union. My dad was a Teamster. My mom worked for a federal labor arbitrator and mediator who had letters of thanks from 4 presidents. I know something about unions and labor management negotiations because of that. And I was a member of a union for quite a while myself. I just want to say that the unions have to listen to their members. So even if you don't know a union leader, you can talk with people in your union if you're a member, or you can talk to someone you know who is a member, because they will be able to tell you who the leader is of their local. And the local will be able to tell you who the leader is of their umbrella union. And eventually, those umbrellas are kind of stacked underneath the AFL-CIO. And eventually, you get up to that level. But if you get enough people in unions to demand divestiture, meaning taking the funds away from investments of their pension funds, because unions have pension funds, you will get a lot of traction that you could not get as an individual. So what's the benefit of looking at the future? The benefit is that if you don't have something to build towards, a brighter future, it's very easy to get discouraged. And also, if you don't shoot for something that will make your world better, then even if you do nothing, you're not going to get any closer to a better world for you and your family, in your community. So my point is that in the past, history shows that when people band together, we can paint a brighter future. We can create a better world, even though the next version of the better world is going to have the seeds of difficulties and challenges within it. And those seeds will grow into problems like we're seeing today, where we're going to have to confront a new set of issues and overcome them. And that is the cycle of history, though. We don't ever have a perfect world, but we can create a better world. We have more people in the world out of poverty now than we did 50 years ago. And when we consider that the news mostly brings us bad news, but there have been improvements. We have seen the cures for diseases. We've seen people's longevity until the pandemic, until COVID. Here in recent history, we were seeing longevity increase. We were seeing maternal and infant mortalities generally trending downwards. And I think that we have to remember that we're on a long trajectory of humanity. And in our lives, the what is, the current state of things right now, is not all there is. If you look back, you can begin to see that there is a trajectory of humanity's improving the world in different ways, and we can continue that. It just doesn't get much press. Right now, though, we are in a bad situation in that our power as humanity against the oligarchs is fading if we don't do something and take action now. And the good news is that we can take action together. And that's why AC has got this wonderful campaign to get the unions to divest, take their money out of their pension investments and invest it somewhere that isn't causing harm ultimately, or concentrating more wealth in the hands of these tyrants. So the other thing I will point out is Heather Cox Richardson, who I follow closely, and Joanne Friedman, who I also follow closely. Both of them are American historians. Heather Cox Richardson is an American civilizations professor at Boston College, and Joanne Friedman is at Yale University. And the two of them are saying that the game isn't over, and we are at the most dangerous point in this whole process, but the real power rests with us in community, because it's not over. This is the time to take actions. This is the time to do everything you individually can, and then get together in your communities to take action. And a simple action you can do right now involves contacting unions to tell them you would like to see them divest from the causes of our suffering here as members of a democratic society. So I think that's what I want to say for the moment. And Xochitl has a hand up, and so I'm going to mute out and let Xochitl speak.
Hey, everybody. Can you hear me? Oh, I don't think you
Yes,
can
go
hear me.
ahead. Yes.
Okay. Sometimes there's just such a long delay that you sit there going, I don't know. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you, AC, for all of the diligent paying attention and bringing these threads together. And I know Jackie, my mom, has been doing the same. And that's actually one of the things I wanted to mention. But before I get ahead of myself, AC, would you please spell out the name of the Substack? I now can't remember exactly what it was, but you mentioned the name that you said people should follow, who's bringing all of these threads together around what the Epstein files are revealing, and how they've not. Zev Shalev.
Zev Shalev, and I put it in the chat.
Okay, thank you. If someone on the team could put Zev Shalev in the chat for people to see on
I did that.
Substack, that would be great too. Thank you. Now, organizing thoughts here. That is one of the things I wanted to mention, is that everything that we are seeing happen to reduce freedoms and to take away rights and consolidate control. And I'm using the word control very deliberately, um, because we often say power, and power doesn't have to be a negative thing. And the real issue here is that it's an abuse of power that is all about dominance and control. It's not about collective power and honor and being on the um, leading edge of how make the world work for everyone without um, disallow causing ecological offense or the disadvantage of anyone. And that is a paraphrased quote from R. Buckminster Fuller. And that is the big question that each one of us can answer, each in our own way, and collectively join together to, as AC put it in earlier in a message to me as we were planning this, we can save each other. But in order to do that, we have to come together. And so there was I will put this in the chat when I can find it and I'm not talking. But there's a man named Casper Bujoric, I think. I'm not really sure how to, it's a name from a European country that I don't actually know how to pronounce well. But his first name is Casper. And he gave a talk about how he joined together with other architects to completely transform the industry, and how architecture was in creating more ecological offense through the practices that had been laid out and the policies. So that video where he gives his talk is called Branded Activism. And Jackie put that in the chat for me. And to be brief here, he goes through exactly the steps that allow people to make the changes that they want to see in the world. And as we bring more people together and raise awareness around, well, how do we approach moving out of all of these potentially dystopian futures and into the future that works for everyone, or at least is on our way to that. We really can. The formula is already there, is my point. We already have the formula. And as we continue to build together and gain momentum, nothing can stop us. Everything is possible. It's just getting enough people to flip the switch in their minds and take some simple actions and start seeing that, oh, we actually can make a difference. It didn't seem that way before, but we can. I think that covers for the moment what I had on my mind. Could go
Thank you.
into a lot more around the problems and how they're all connected, but the bottom line about how they're all connected is it's all about abuse of power. And that actually comes out in the way that it looks right now. It's about control and dominance. And we don't need that. The world does not need to be controlled. That is not what we need. So thanks. I'm handing it back to AC.
I just want to let you know your mom put that information out, so it's listed up. That is excellent information. And an example, you guys, of some of the things you can do is in New York City, what they're doing is they're putting up posters, and they're putting the posters of CEOs, the picture of their face wanted posters and saying things like this is a CEO of this company, and they're greedy and they're doing these things. I'm not saying to do anything to them, but they are putting that up around the area. What we could do too is we could have these union letters, which we're going to refine further. I'm going to go into it a little bit right now. And then Social and Jackie, we are going to be in Karma. We will be going through this email again. We have some ladies on the side, by the way, who help me. And if they let me disclose their information, I will tell you that. Until they tell me I can, I will keep that on the side. So I took this idea to them, we refined it, and then we are going to further refine that, I think, later today, and then have someone review that. And then what we'd like to do is put that out for all of you guys. And so, if you know of any union, people, we would like to send it out. So with that, I will go into this information, and then I'm going to go into a little bit about gardening. And I think these are the two main things that we have to do for one another right now. So the information in regards to the unions right now, as it's situated, and we will be refining it, is just saying union leaders, a narrow power structure of the Wall Street and Silicon Valley figures is consolidating control over working people, using data and currency to build a technocrat system that treats labor as disposable. The real threat to your members' livelihoods is not immigration, it's AI and robotics deployed by the same executives now lobbying for digital ID and mandates and central control payment rails. And then one of the pieces of evidence for that, you guys, was the video that you guys seen, right? And we're asking unions everywhere to stand with working people and move before the window closes, because once they crash the system, you guys, these retirement funds will be gone, right? Then we can't use that as leverage to move the system. And I want you to understand this: if we globally move our money, whether that's pension funds in the universities, pension funds in the unions, we have way more money than these people collectively, but we need to work collectively. So what would be the purpose? Obviously, what we've already stated, which is a strategic realignment, asking, will you shift pensions and retirement holdings away from corporations tied to consolidation? Review exposure to the largest asset managers like BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, global lenders like JP Morgan, Bank of America, Deutsche Bank, Rothschilds, and privately funded firms like Apollo. Will you shift pensions and retirement holdings away from surveillance and automation infrastructure like Palantir and Oracle, both the IDF are using? Starlink, SpaceX, Neuralink, Meta, OpenAI, Amazon, Google, Walmart, and fossil fuel conglomerates, ? Redirect worker savings into community lenders, cooperatives, and regional enterprises that strengthen local economies, aka us. Procurement reset. End and decline contracts with firms tied to worker exploitation. Labor displacement through automation and networks enabling them. Coordinated mobilization. Organized synchronous global days of solidarity like May 1st. Rallies, work stoppages, public campaigns opposing digital ID mandates, and defending worker protections. So the priority requests are: approve the union resolutions endorsing above measures, launching a review of pensions and procurement exposure, and move money accordingly. Commit to one coordinated global day of solidarity within 90 days. Defend democracy and shield working people from job displacement, thus ensuring the citizens, not the Epstein class, shape and share our future. Best regards, IOD nations. Join us and take global actions like the one above to give power back to the people. And then there's a PS on there. So that's the general information. But again, this will be refined and then given to someone else to just make sure legally everything's okay. The other thing I would ask you guys is gardening. Because the two main things we need is we need food. And then we need to protect our money so we can continue to get food and live, right? So gardening right now, and I don't know, some of you may be in the US, some of you may not be. Globally, different countries are telling their people they need to start gardening, start making sure they have enough food, because there's going to be food shortages. That fertilizer is needed. And the other main place you get your fertilizer, China. China realizes there's going to be food shortages. So what have they done? They're going to protect their people. They're not selling their fertilizer. There's only one other main area you get fertilizer from, Canada. Their potash. Okay. And I'm just telling you, fertilizer prices are going through the roof. Farmers will not be able to afford to use much fertilizer. That means the productivity or the yields from those fields is going to be less. That means costs are going to go up. And because they're not going to make those yields that they normally make, which they need to stay in business, it will be a farm apocalypse. And all these billionaires will buy everything up and then they will control the food. And I just want to go into dictatorships in the past. We talk about the Holocaust, but let's look at Stalin. 15 million of his own people he killed, most of which was through starvation. Hitler. There's a reason Netherlands produces a shit ton of food, you guys, in Europe, because they were starved during the World Wars and they're never going to starve again. Okay. So guess what? We need to be not just plant your own garden. You need to be going to your communities. This is about global action, you guys. This is about, going to local, diocese, going to wherever, going to your extension offices if you're in the United States and saying, what are you doing to create gardening clubs? Because mid-May is planting season. You need to be planting a garden, everyone. If we can feed ourselves, we have leverage. They can't just force us into a lot of other things I didn't talk about because I don't want to go into that scary stuff. Okay, this is enough for you to understand that there's a reason to have a fire under your butt to get something done. Okay, and a gardening club is a great way to start mutual aid with other people. Start telling them about, there are different ways to reduce your health care, right? Like direct physician care. We don't use insurance and it's a lot less money and we can afford our care, right? They're a good way to start mutual aid. So the two things I would ask of today is that we have this union letter. Hopefully we'll have this refined by Monday, Tuesday time frame. We'll have someone review it and we can get that out to everybody and go put this out there. Like share it with any union members, Now, the only places that we're looking to not maybe share it with is police, because in the United States right now, they are sometimes working with people who are kidnapping our neighbors, okay, and the firefighters. If you have a local group that isn't, that is actually working for your community, that might be one thing, but teachers, they're women, nurses, mostly women, physical therapy, mostly women, occupational therapists, they're understanding where this is going. They will be on board with this. These are some really good places to send to. There are people who are in the shipping business. Guess what? This is going to affect global shipping. They understand their jobs are on the line. They might want to get on board with this. Right? So think about how you align your goals with other people. And the next thing, our first wave is going to be the unions. And then about 2 or 3 weeks after that, we're going to do a wave and it's going to go to our local governments, to the state level, saying this, the unions are already, been sent all this information. They're doing this. So I guess you can either get on board or you could be left holding an empty bag. Right. And this is how we can actually move all our money, you guys, at a time before a crash so that they can't push this digital currency, because it's not just the United States. I really need to stress this to you. Go look at where Palantir is located right now. They are already located in Canada. They're in Australia. They're in France. They are in, I think, something like 20 different countries. Oracle, this is a global move. And obviously in 2025, they bombed 7 different countries. And then obviously this year, all of this has happened. It's impacting, well, it's like 18 different countries involved with the direct war. But all the rest of these countries aren't going to have food. So this is a way that we can help everybody globally. If we all move our money, we prevent these guys from using our war machine against anybody else. All right. So at that, is there someone else who would like to? I can't see all the hands, and I'll see if we can't have a couple people come up here. But I wanted to say the union letter, we'll have that out in the next couple weeks, or not the next couple days here. And gardening. Please start gardening groups. Call your local extension office. Call your local university. They have horticultural clubs out there, and you can start figuring out where you're going to plant, what you're going to plant. And I know even on your decks, you guys, you can have what's called vertical crate gardens, and you can produce a ton of potatoes, and that can supplement your costs of living, because our dollar is devaluating and the cost of everything is going up. So planting a garden is like planting money that increases in value. All right, I'm going to read some things here. Start composting. Yes, Jackie is correct. Some of the things that are good for composting are first worms. Worm castings or worm poop is excellent fertilizer. So if you start composting right now, you can don't use meat and don't use plastics. But other than that, if you have some shredded, cardboard, some soil, and then eggshells, apple cores, whatever, potato peels, and then you throw in some worms in it, they'll start breeding, they'll start pooping, and that's great fertilizer. The other thing that makes perfect fertilizer is duck ponds. The duck poop with the water makes a perfect fertilizer, and you can use it as irrigation onto your gardens, you guys. And it's a cheap way. And then if you have ducks, just a few of them, it's eggs. So if you have the land, if you have an area that has that, maybe something you might want to utilize. Let's see here, Victory Gardens. If you're ready to move, volunteer with IOD Nations. Go to IOD. Yep. So iodnations.org, you guys, if you want to go there, you can apply to volunteer. The other thing that they have on there is, I believe it's $1,000 for a really great idea if you want to like submit an idea for. So you just go in with your email, you create an ID, and you can sign up for global action, right? Maybe your area, you're having issues with water and drought. What are you going to do about that? We could crowdsource problem solving. Like, how are we going to get water from this location to another? They have condensers. Maybe you draw off enough water from the air that you have something to, drink and not die. That might be good. All right. Maybe you have minerals on your land and the other place has more food and you can like trade that. You can barter without any kind of money, right? Like there are crowdsourcing solutions to things, you guys. The methane in the cows that we have right now. There is a seaweed in Australia. You put it in the feed, guess what? A lot less methane. Like we can do a lot of things if we put our heads together, right? And so iodnations.org is a great place where you can go and connect, because the more people we have connected, you guys, the more global action we have, and that means the more impact we have and the better chance we have to succeed at doing this. And we need global action. So that's my thought process on that. Did you, Jackie, or Social, did you
Hey.
want to say something? Or Karma? Karma, go Karma.
Yes, I think you said you couldn't see the hands. I was going to ask Jackie if she wouldn't mind to talk about the victory gardens that she put in the chat, because I personally am not familiar with that and I'm curious. Because I do garden. I'm very amateur at gardening. Maybe more novice than amateur. I've just been learning as I go. I started last year and it's a lot of information. There's a lot of contradicting, or that word, information. So yeah, Jackie, do you mind expanding on that just a little bit?
I don't mind at all. And thanks for asking. My parents grew up when there were victory gardens because they grew up during World War II. And that's what that was a victory gardens were home gardens in people's yards where they were growing food because there were food shortages. There was food rationing because they had to feed the soldiers too. And that meant people didn't get to just go to the store and buy the whole big range of things we have in the stores right now. So a victory garden simply is a home garden, and in support of winning the war in World War II, they were called victory gardens. And that's all it is. The thing is that most people don't know where food comes from anymore. Most people, I would say a lot of people don't know how to cook and are reliant on packaged food or restaurants and delivery. I know of several people who don't hardly eat at home. And that's going to have to change because it's going to get too expensive and food's going to be harder to find. If you're growing your own food, you need to know how to prepare it. There's a learning curve here. And I think what we're really saying is that now is the time, before you're hungry, to go learn how to grow your food, how to prepare the soil. I'm a huge fan of straw bale gardening, and most people don't even know what that is. It's one of the simplest ways that you can garden in your yard. And There's also ways to garden in an apartment, even. If you don't have a lot of space to grow food, you can still grow some things. You can grow microgreens in your apartment. But if you have a little space outside, you can get straw bales, just straw bales, not hay bales. Hay bales are for feeding horses and cattle and whatever. But straw bales are a great way to have a raised garden, so you are not having to bend over and tend to your garden on the ground. And you don't have to construct any beds to put them in. You just put the bales where you want them. You fix them with some nitrogen, so you aren't going to have to figure out where to get some source of nitrogen. And before shortages get real, this is a good time to think about buying some. You wait about 2 weeks, and then you plant your plants and seeds directly into the straw bales, and then just keep it moist. And the straw bales prevent a lot of pests, insects and whatnot from eating your garden. They also prevent you from having a lot of weeds in your garden. So now you're not having to use much insecticide on your plants, if at all, and you're not having to pull weeds, which is one of the things that I least look forward to when I garden, is having to pull weeds. Okay. So if you don't have to pull weeds and you don't have to spray with insecticides and put poison on your food that you're going to eat, and all you have to do then is tend to your garden and make sure it's moist. The straw bales lock in the moisture to a good amount while still draining too much water away from the plant. So it's really, really awesome. You can grow flowers and vegetables in your straw bales, and certain flowers will help keep pests away, like marigolds. So you can learn all these little things, and then don't be intimidated by learning something new or thinking that you can't do this because you don't know anything about it. Just go to YouTube and type in straw bale gardening or gardening in an apartment or whatever situation you're in. And there are tons of YouTube videos out there that can teach you what you need to know step by step. The other thing is that if you're in the United States, you can go to your county extension office. Every county in the United States has a county extension office. And their whole thing, their whole jam is to teach people how to best use their gardens or grow livestock. They are the ones that know all about agriculture and growing food and can help you out. And they often have classes where they will teach you. And in some cases, they'll come out to your property and tell you what you can grow there. If you have more acreage, especially, they will come out and tell you what you can do with your property to be looking for. So all of those are resources for you. Another great resource is the public library. Every public library has a reference desk. And at the reference desk are these wonderful people. And what they like to do is help people find information. And that's their job. So your taxpayer dollars fund their positions. Your taxpayer dollars fund the libraries. And if you are one of the many people in the United States who does not have a library card, then march yourself down to your local public library and get a card. Because not only can you borrow materials, physical materials from the library and get help with your taxes and get help. You can print things, you can get information about how to garden, how to cook, how to construct things, any kind of thing that you're going to need to know, you can do by going to the library. But also you can borrow books online through the library system. You can watch films on Canopy libraries if you have a card, and it's a wealth of resources. So this is what I'm about in large part, is I don't want to just theorize about what we need to do or how we got here. I'm all about practical things we can do. One of my teachers a long time ago, he was in Ojibwe, Chippewa medicine man. And at one point he said, well, many points, he said this a lot. If your spirituality doesn't grow corn, he didn't want anything to do with it. So if our theories don't grow corn, in this case, quite literally, possibly, then what use is it? So get practical. Think in practical terms about who can you get together with. If you don't have any place to grow a garden, who's got a yard in your neighborhood? Who's got a little more space? Who do you know in 5 minutes walk from your home? Where is there a vacant lot? Who owns the lot? Can your community get together and ask the owner, can we just grow some vegetables on that lot? They may say no because of liability and, if you get hurt. But there are ways of working around even that. Somebody says, well, I don't want to because of liability. Then you can check into insurance that would cover that liability and put a little money into the insurance policy to make that work. This is the thing, is that any obstacle that you come across where somebody says no, I'll bet you there is a way around it. And one of the things I would recommend is getting into groups like ours, a Positively Hub. We solve practical problems, not just theoretical ones. And can be this kind, what do you do when somebody says no and you need to get help with something? Can you go somewhere else? Is there another way to get the help you need? Is there a way to get that person to change their mind and agree with you to give you the help you need or to cooperate with you? Because many times it's simply finding, there's a great story, which we don't have time here, but there's a guy named Pace, and he buys real estate. I can't remember his last name right now, but he was talking about find the bunnies. Find what it is that's stopping the other person from agreeing to cooperate with you. What is it that they really need to solve, or what do they really want that they haven't told you about yet? Because maybe there's some reason, some obstacles for them to saying yes, that if you got rid of that obstacle, they would say yes after all. And you just have to be willing to get curious and see what it is the other person wants and needs, and how can you help them? Because maybe you can't, but you might know someone who can, right? So problem solve. Have a mindset of solution-oriented conversations, and don't take it personally when people say no, because usually it's not about you. Usually it's about something you don't know that's going on with the other person. So I'm going to stop talking because AC's got her hand up, and I could go on, and this group here knows that. So I'm going to stop here. AC, go ahead, please take it away.
Thank you, Jackie, for all that information. What was really funny is you're talking about the extension office in University of Horticulture. I'm clicking enter, and all of a sudden, then you talked about it. It was great.
I
So it is
thought she was getting those ideas from your messages because they were correlating so well.
No, I confess, I was not getting those ideas from your messages because I can't look at the chat and try to talk. I'm not able to multitask like that.
No, I just thought we both were on the same vein. Do you know what I mean? Like, I typed it and I'm hitting enter, and then you're talking about it. Was really cool. Like, I just thought like we're on the same vein. So when you were talking about the empty lots, you guys, and the liability, so I created something, and I will make a post on this as soon as we get done. It's a letter to your governors, and I actually just yesterday I did quite a few things yesterday. I went to my local government at the Capitol. I went to my AG. I went to the governor. Anyways, and there's a letter you can make to your governors. It has a lot of what she was talking about, practical. I love practical. That is what I am. And so, what I've been saying is not just gardening clubs, but I would like to see our states, all of them, create what I call a Good Samaritan law for gardening ground. So the same way that, people were doing CPR on people on the side of the street, well, then they were getting sued. So they made a Good Samaritan law. So you can't sue them for trying to save your life. That we make Good Samaritan laws for donating ground, and that we have statewide a policy that if you fill out this annual form, you have it in your local township or your local city hall, that annually you just renew that form. And what you're stating is on your property, and you have to do a street address, you're giving this amount of ground, whether that's like 25 by 25 feet or whatever it is, and that you will mark it out. And you'd have standard statewide, here's your post, right? And it'd be something you print out and just put on a wooden stake. Okay. And you put that out on the borders of where you want to donate your ground. And then after that, you guys, in it, if you're getting to the ground or getting off the ground, you can't sue them for, a slip and fall. You can't sue them because something crapped on your food and you ate it and you got sick. Like, they're just trying to be nice and they're donating the ground. And therefore, because they will have legal liability protection, they will donate their ground. Like, that we need really badly. And then push these gardening clubs to everyone you can. And I really push the crate vertical gardens, you guys, because crates are really cheap. They're really easy to stack. And what she was talking about with the straw, yeah, you can use straw if you really don't have any money. You could use like grass clippings or something, and then you put topsoil, not potting soil. Potting soil does not retain moisture. You want topsoil, okay? And then you could put like cedar potatoes in that, and then you put them around the edge where it's getting the sunlight, and then you do another one, and you do another one, and you can go about 4 high. Most people can. And you can probably get 3 or 4 depending on the size of your deck. A lot of apartments, I think you get 3 columns of these crate gardens. All right. And on the top you could put potatoes, or you could put tomatoes or peppers or garlic, right? And if you had 2 big potters on either side, or at least one, you could plant, like, they're called, I think it's pumpkin spice pumpkins. They're about the size of a cantaloupe or acorn squash. And that could go and lace around the railing on your deck. And I'm just telling you, that's hundreds of pounds of food that you could supplement your diet with so that you don't go hungry. And even if you don't use it, you guys, food pantries everywhere are going to need it, because we're going to have huge unemployment. We are going to go into a Great Depression 2.0. Okay. So we all need to be planting these gardens. And I just feel like that's a really good thing to do. In that letter, I'll just quickly go over just 2 or 3 things in it, because it's all very practical and it's all going to be needed. Right now, Ohio is already dumping people in nursing homes out into homeless shelters. They have no way to take care of these people. And it's just the beginning, because they've cut about $500 billion from the nursing homes. That was last year in the big bill. And now, because of this war, that's something like 115 billion. That's not the damage to all 17 of the bases. That's just the cost of the munitions and the people and the logistics. So that's probably going to come out of our hide. And then we also have the 70 billion that they want to have, not just for ICE, you guys. I mean, they're saying ICE, but they have this. It's HST, is it HSTF.gov, I think. Basically, it's an additional military that they want to have. Okay. So all this money, you guys, is going to come out of our healthcare and our food. So what are we going to do when we have higher unemployment and we need housing, food, and healthcare? And in this letter, you guys, it talks about direct physician care. That means right now you can send a letter to your companies right now. And I have that on my website, unitedwestand.shop, a shop of free ideas, unitedwestand.shop. I'm not selling anything. On it, you guys, you can send this letter to your HR departments and say, hey, could you please right now work with doctors to build out a system where they don't use insurance? And there's already some that do this, you guys. They charge a flat rate. If your company gives you what's called catastrophic healthcare insurance, then if you get in a car wreck or have a heart attack, that will take care of that. And if you use the direct physician care, you could actually afford healthcare next year. The other thing is you can do things like that's one thing with the healthcare. What's the other thing? Oh, strip malls. So if you want to talk to your local areas, a lot of these strip malls, they have went out of business. They're handicap accessible. They have handicap accessible bathrooms in them. If they were to add in a line of showers and maybe a couple like washers and dryers, a lot of them already have cafeterias. You could have people from these nursing homes at least go into there, or homeless people go into there. It would just be a bed and an end table, a bed and an end table in the store areas. And in these large, wide, long hallways that usually there's vendors in, you can make that into small lofts. And the loft portion would just be a bed, and underneath would just be that would be the width. It wouldn't be that big, okay? But these people who are like 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, they have aged out of the system for foster care and they will have no place to go if they donate like 20 hours a week to getting people dressed, undressing them, getting them into a shower once a week, that they can stay there for free. Like, I feel like that's the cheapest way we could apply that, but that idea has to go to your governors. And I have all that in a letter. I will put that in again. If you subscribe to me, I'm American Citizen 2025. I have the Eagle head. I'll send that out and you guys can copy and paste that letter to your governors today. Part of that is the gardens. So, and just like Jackie said, your extension office, your 4-H extension office, you guys are everywhere. And your horticulture departments in your universities or colleges, or if you have a botanical garden, they have master gardeners. They would, a lot of them, if you talk to them, could you come out and do a club meeting in, let's say, a week? And I'm going to put this around my, church, my, school, that, other countries are worried about food shortages and there's not enough fertilizer. So maybe we should start a gardening club. Maybe you can meet at a local library, ask the library beforehand if you can do that or not. A lot of times they have additional space where they could do that. Sometimes the extension office might be a place where everyone could meet there, or if it's a community college, you could meet there, right? So ask these people, and a lot of times they'll do that for free. So I would get that information now. If you can get ball jars, I would do that now. If you can get right now unbleached flour or rice, I've been telling people this for a while. 300 degrees for 3 hours. You put it in a canning jar, 300 degrees, 3 hours, and it will kill all the eggs, any lice, any like larva, anything like that in there. You have, once it cools, then you put it into a sterile Ziploc bag. You fill a tote with rice and flour, you guys, and then you have a couple bags of bulk sugar. If you do this now, as our price of food goes sky high, you can supplement that into your diet so you can continue to afford to eat. Really, bread is yeast with some flour and a little butter. It's not much more than that. If you make your own bread, you could afford to have some bread that way. I'm just telling you a few things. The other thing is zucchini. When you plant that, you guys, Amish people, what they do if it gets really big is they take it and they will dehydrate it. So what you can do is you slice it with a mandarin. A lot of ovens, if you look at the newer ones, they have a dehydration function. You just put the slices into the oven, dehydration mode, you dry it out, and then you blend it. And they use that for flour. That's a really good way for people in this country who are like they have gluten intolerances for them to afford to be able to eat in the future. So there's a lot of little things like that that you can discuss with them. But I'm just saying potatoes, squash, pumpkins, they last for 6 or 7 months. If you're doing turnips, parsnips, carrots, they can last a long time. Now, you can do beets, but I'm going to let you know this. Beets, they draw a lot of nutrients out of the ground. And if you plant beets in this one area, you won't have a lot of nutrients left over the next year and you will have to crop rotate. Okay. So I put in here too the Three Sisters. That's what Native Americans used to do. They would have, I have a little Ojibwa blood in me as well. That you plant corn and when it gets to be about knee high, then you plant beans on either side and it will use the stalk to grow up. And then you put about a foot and a half out from there, squash, right? And you do that like on 3 or 4 sides of it. That maintains the weeds, right? So the weeds are down. And that's how they would plant. They called it the Three Sisters. So you can talk to your local gardeners and see if that's something you want to do. But I'm just saying, when you're hungry, having some beans is nice. If you had a potato or some squash, that can be a real chunk of a meal. So you're not constantly hungry. And it's something, all those things I told you about, you can keep them for 5 or 6 months. All right, now, Karma had her hand up, so I am going.
It's been a minute. I think I was going to mention companion planting. There are 1,000,001 books on it. There are, I say plants, not crops because I'm not a farmer, but there are plants that you can plant with other plants that will, they will help each other and they will also, some can deter pests And then I also do highly recommend implementing flowers, like marigolds are really good, stuff like that into the vegetable garden as well, because that does a lot of work in attracting the pollinators that we need for our fruits and vegetables. There was something else that I was about to mention. Oh yeah, with like crops that are that like to deplete nutrients from the soil. One good thing with about green beans is if you do rotate, you can plant green beans in other areas that might be depleted, and they are nitrogen fixers. So those are always good to plant, and they can help if you have them planted with other things as well, they can just help with the nitrogen. And then I think that was about all I was gonna say, AC, but that was when we were still on the topic. You kind of went off a little bit. Can you touch base really quick before we get too far into this chat? Oh, where did it go? We may have already went too far in the chat. It was from Draco. Oh, there it is. He said he sent out the union leader template to participants and volunteers. Could you please explain to the audience how they could help us to send the email to union leaders, how they can copy and paste it and all that good stuff is what he's asking.
Yeah, Draco, just sorry, Jackie. I will come back to you. Before that, Draco just shared the email address and the template with all of our volunteers, and it contains all the actions that they need to take. Just open the mail and you will get the idea what you need to do about it.
We were gonna
Thank you.
we were gonna uh revise that a little bit with Jackie and her daughter, and then have a legal person look at that and get it out by like Tuesday or so. But I like I said, I already read the letter, but we'll re-edit it and send it out. I'll also after I get done with this meeting, I will in my Substack put out that information, you guys. It's a letter to your governors, and all those ideas I talked to you about and several others. I think there's 9 or 10 ideas in there. You just send that to your governors. It's just a copy and paste, so it's very easy. And then it has information on the donating the ground and doing your gardens locally with clubs. I think those are the action items as far as going forward. And then hopefully by Tuesday, this person, legal wise, will look through it and just double check. I don't think there's anything in it, but like if we can get legal eyes on it, that's great. And then we can get them sent out as soon as possible, because what we're talking about, you guys, if we globally act, all the virtual citizens, iodnations.org, we will we need to feed each other, and we need to stop this system that's hurting us. And if we move all our money and we plant gardens right there, we can really turn this around. I mean, seriously, we can turn this around. I just added in the message as far as Karma was concerned. If you're going to be doing marigolds, which when Jackie was talking, I was talking about onions, garlic, marigolds, and wood ash are natural ways to reduce pests in your area. Okay. If you're going to use marigolds and you want to increase pollinators, use yellow marigolds, because yellow and blue attract bees the most. So that might be something you want to look into or not. If you're having a slug problem, if you have any kind of like raspberry bushes or anything like that that have thorns on it, you can put that around the edge of your garden, and that reduces slugs. And those are all natural and they're cheap. And if you're gonna want garlic and onions anyways, if you're planting that around other items in your garden instead of just one straight row, you're getting the onions and garlic, but you're also having it be a natural, cheap pest resistance. But these are all things you can talk to a master gardener about who's at, if you have a botanical garden near you, if you have a university or a college, they have horticulture departments, and you'd want to talk to a professor or a TA, a teacher's assistant in that department to get help. Again, those local 4-H extension offices, at least in the United States, they are free too. And ask them to start the clubs, because it's not just about you with your food feeding you. If you have a bunch of people starving around you, that is what can cause chaos, you guys. And so we don't need to just feed ourselves. We need to make sure everyone else gets fed. So the gardening club is really key. And then you can use things like daisy chains, which I have on my website too, to start these mutual aids, right? Because what Jackie was saying is right. It's not just about the gardening, it's about the cooking and understanding right now food prices are bad, but they're going to get a whole lot worse. And, if we have less food, well, guess what? Then we have less food to feed the animals. So the animal prices of meat are going to go up. So if you can do things like can your meat right now, and you can meat, you guys. So once you have your rice, go to Costco, or, that's one of the few big stores I like. They treat their people right. Rice and flour, you get big bulk containers of it, right? And then you take these ball jars, glass ball jars, or there's different kinds of glass jars. Wide mouth, that's what you want, is wide mouth. And you have wide mouth lids with rings. Bake your rice, 300 degrees, 3 hours. Once you do all of that, it's cooled, put it in your Ziploc bags, put it in a tote. You can do that with the flour. Once you're done with all that, then what you do is you can use that for your canning your meat. And I'm here to tell you, you can your meat now, so that over the next 9-10 months here, you can afford to have some meat every once in a while, because it's going to get very high. And, so I would also look to bunk up, you guys. And I've been saying this for a while. If you right now are barely making it, you won't in the very near future. So if you can sell what you have, maybe get an RV, or if you can, bunk up with somebody else. Well, this other person, they have an extra bedroom. Okay, well, then if you're giving them a little bit of rent, guess what? You're not paying 2 property taxes and 2 rents and then 2 utilities. You're only paying 1 rent and 1 utility. Okay.
Hey, I
And
see.
that way you can still afford to eat. Go for it, Karma.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. I just didn't want to get too far off into a different subject before Jackie and Citrus will get to talk. They've had their hands raised for a minute.
All right, thanks very much, Karma. A couple things. One is there's so much to think about and so much to learn that it's overwhelming, and I get that. And so what I want to say to you is don't try to do all this by yourself. Divide and conquer can help you. It helps the tyrants divide and conquer us and retain their power, but you can use the same technique when it comes to learning and figuring out what you're going to do. So if you're new to gardening or you're new to cooking, then get with other people, and one person can go study about dealing with pests like bugs and things that'll eat up your garden, or deer. Deer and rabbits also will love to eat your garden. Then get with somebody else who wants to learn more about canning, or wants to learn more about baking, or you may already have people in your community and your little group that is very good at making bread, or some other things that you don't know. But that's the beauty of being in a community, is you can work together, form little pods. Now, Xochitl and I have been full-time RVers since 2010. We sold our house to avoid foreclosure, and we found a cash buyer because we had a very dear friend who was a real estate agent, and she knew how to do that and got it done. So after the Great Recession, we were sort of okay. I wasn't exactly happy that we had to sell our house, and maybe if we had thought differently, we might not have had to. But that's getting off topic. What I'd like to say though is that it's about cooperation. And so as RVers, you can get an RV, and if you have somebody who's got property that you can put your RV on and they're not going to charge you much, don't get an RV and expect to go stay in campgrounds. It gets very expensive, and if you're low on money and you don't have the money to make repairs and buy new tires and all the things that you have to do to keep an RV functional and mobile, then don't do that.
So unless you're going to be on somebody's property where you're not going to have to pay rent or not very much, and if you're already low on funds, I would not recommend that. What I would recommend is what AC said about bunking up. Find people that you can live with, that you can get a place together, or if somebody already has a place, somebody who's got spare rooms that they want to share with you, or if you have spare rooms. There are so many homes in the United States that have one or two people living in them, and they're 2,400 square feet. Is it really necessary for us to live in such large homes, just one or two people? And not everybody's going to think that way, and that's okay. You don't need to convince people who don't think that way already to think that way. You can just find the ones who do, because one of the things I've learned in working with people for decades now is that you can lead a horse to water and you can salt their oats, but you cannot make them drink. People, when they're ready, then they will do things that are in their best interests. And when they're not ready, they won't. And even though I'm a certified hypnotherapist and I can be very persuasive, even I cannot make people do things that they are not ready to do or see things that they're not ready to see. So put that aside. Don't take it personally. They're just not ready. That's all. It's about them, not about you. So go find somebody else. And if you don't know anybody else, then start messaging with people here on Substack or getting onto YouTube comments with Heather Cox Richardson's community or Joanne Friedman's community or whatever is your favorite community. But don't give up, because you will find your tribe. You will find people that you can cooperate with and collaborate with as long as you decide you will, because then your perception of what's possible will open up and you will see opportunities and people and resources that you were ignoring before because you were filtering them out when you were thinking things were not possible for you. That's the way the mind works. We filter out the things we think are not possible for us, or that we think we might not want because it won't be perfect, won't be exactly what we want. And then we disregard the options that really are there, the people, resources, and opportunities that are all around us if we only open our eyes and are willing to be curious about what's possible, even though it might on the surface look different than what we had imagined. So Xochitl has her hand up, and I'm going to stop now because, like I said before, I could go on and on.
Hey, everybody. I'm gonna lower my hand. There we go. So I know that we need to start wrapping up and bring people up to share any questions or comments that they might have with us. Before we go to that, assuming everyone here agrees that we need to wrap up, I want to say something about how it is that we view ourselves. And why is that important? Well, how we think about what we're capable of affects the ability we have to see the options before us and shapes our behavior. So, one of the things that might be helpful is to notice that you're here. And we're here because we see problems and we want solutions. Now, when I was messaging AC about this live today with everyone, there was something that came out of my thoughts that I hadn't really put in these words before. And it has to do with what I've just mentioned. And if we think of community and the changes that we can create together, I'm sure everyone's familiar with the concept of crowdsourcing, where we all join together to put money or time or other add value to get a project completed or off the ground, to get things started. Well, my message to you all is that society is a whole bunch of crowdsourcing projects. And we're doing it collectively all the time. It's just our thinking about it. We have put it into boxes around, well, this is how we do business, or this is what it means to fill in the blank of what kind of organizing we're doing. And I want to emphasize that our coming together to help each other, to serve the purposes that will bring us not only meeting our basic needs, but to bring forward the dream of democracy by acting now. Because we each matter here. All of us count. And crowdsourcing, that is how that is one way that democracy shows up, is everybody taking a piece of what we can do together, bringing their ideas, bringing their talents, bringing their time, bringing their resources, and coming up with new ways, new solutions, and sometimes building on old solutions and improving them. So my invitation to you is to think about this kind of action with the emails that we're proposing and the community gardens. Think of it as crowdsourcing solutions through relationship building and in a relational, reciprocal way that is democratic, because we can do this. I know the problems are big, but look at how far we've come as humanity, even though we have had, but we're in a position now where things could come crashing down. And I said this earlier, right now, in some ways, we are controlling the fall. And that is one way that, and that is one of the things that the email campaign to unions, that is helping to control the fall. And at the same time, we need to be building for the future. So one of our superpowers is cooperation and collaboration. We are a social species. We are so much stronger together. And I bless you all. I thank you for being here. Let's get this done. There's so much we can do. Please
Also,
go. Yeah, AC, what's your thought?
I just want to say that, I thought you were done. I'm sorry. Is that
Okay.
the only way with our government being as corrupt as it was for us to actually build something new was for the old system to have to collapse. I know it's a hard thing to think about, but a lot of civilizations only make it about 250 years, and we're going on to 250 this July. And that the only way we're going to get better is that we do have to actually rebuild something better. And so it sucks that it's going to collapse, but we can work to make it collapse the right way for us to make this. And honestly, you guys, there is so much that we could do to make things so much better globally. I
Yes.
mean, globally. And I think one of the ideas I think too that I want to just bring up, because I want people to know who are not in the United States to know Americans do not want this. We do not want our war machine being used against other people. We just don't. Even if you're maggot, you don't want that. Okay. Even they are, I can't say smart, but they're understanding enough to know not to want that. Okay. And I think I'm going to put this out here because you have to have a goal. And I keep looking at the UN and people say, well, what do they do? And they got this genocide going on. They don't do anything. Well, instead of being reactive, what if the UN became proactive? What if they say, if you want to be in our playhouse and you want to play with us and you want trade with us, what we're going to do is we're not going to attack nations as much as we are going to attack individuals. We are going to put a global cap on the amount of money that you can make. And every country is going to make, like, maybe it's 35 million euros, maybe it's 50 million US dollars, depending on what the currency rates are. And say after that, 90% of what you make is going to be taxed. And we prevent billionaires from existing in the future so that they cannot buy the systems and use the war weapon for their profits and to steal. I think that's maybe an idea that we need to implement so that we do not have this global catastrophe ever again. And we say, oh, you're going to be a part of using the, war machine, Meta, OpenAI, and Palantir. And guess what? The founders of those companies, they're not welcome on our property. You are not welcome to do business in our countries. And you start actually going, not stop attacking countries when we really have billionaires. I look at Russia and go, they don't want to be in the meat factory, but that's what Putin wants, right? We have this oligarchy here, and it's what they want. Why don't we start looking at the oligarchs and we start addressing that in a different way so that we don't have to come back here? And I've never seen anybody do that before. And I'm telling you this because there is a hope to be had here. And I want you to know, if we all move our unions and the universities move their retirement funds, we have so much more money than they do. We have so much more power than they do. And I want to leave you on a note of hope. I'm not in the Substack. So if anybody's on Substack who wants to, like, say something, I don't know if Karma's seeing them or if one of the guys in the background, whether that's Rakesh or Kurt or Draco, if you want to ask anybody else if they want to have any questions. That's all I have to say, but I want to leave it on a note of hope. Okay. All right, so I guess we're done at this point. If you're on the iodnations.org, I guess you're going to get this email. We are going to be revising that and looking at that. I know Jackie and her daughter wanted to look at that, and we wanted to have a legal eye look at that, which we didn't have access to before this. And then hopefully on Tuesday we'll have that around and we can get that out to everybody. But right after we get done with this meeting here, I will send out, it's the letter to your governors, and it has the gardening information, it has the healthcare information, it has housing information. It's just the, strategic stuff. Thank you for coming here. Did anybody else want to say anything? I'm going to use the arrows and find out if someone else wants to say something before we leave here real quick. I'm looking at Patricia and Marianne and Gil, and I hope you're feeling better, Gil. And IOD Nations. Karma, do you want to say something?
Karma, do you want to go?
No, I was just saying you had your hand up.
Yeah, I did. I just wanted to remind everyone of this quote from Buckminster Fuller, and just because I think that's really important to know that the model that we're building is a model that is going to replace the obsolete one. And so Buckminster Fuller said this: you never change things by fighting the existing reality. And then he says, to change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. So the systems that we are currently seeing take over our democratic nation here are built to take that democracy away from us. And so you're not going to get to change them by just fighting them, because they already have stacked the deck. They've stacked the rules. They're currently stacking the police state against dissent, and on and on. So there are processes slowing that down, because there are still judges before you get to the Supreme Court that are making some difference there. And we can certainly stop the process by electing well, we can slow it down for another 2 years, but we can stop the process to a large extent by getting very active and at the midterms in the fall, in November, electing better representatives that can put that can put the brakes on the Trump regime. But we have to be looking at what is it that we want to build in the future, because people are exhausted by just outrage and fighting. Eventually, they get burnt out, and you have to have a brighter vision, a brighter future for what comes after, because that's what inspires people to stay in it even when they're exhausted and tired. And so developing that brighter vision, having a plan, and even though the plan may change over time and be edited, tweaked, revised, just having some place to shoot for is really important. In the I Ching, which is the Chinese Book of Oracles, it says it furthers one to have a place to go. It furthers one to have a place to go. So you have to have some endpoint in mind. My endpoint is to make the world work for 100% of humanity. Am I personally going to be able to do that? No. Do I expect that by the end of my lifetime, the world is going to work for 100% of humanity? No. But you know what? I'm going to get closer in that. I'm going to nudge the percentage of humanity that the world does work for a little closer to 100% than it was before my lifetime. And I don't care if it's 0.00001%. If I can do even that much by banding together and helping to lead little groups of people, our membership in Positively Hub is really tiny because we haven't marketed, but the point is that the people we've had have been with us for years now, and I'll tell you that every little difference we make has a ripple effect. There's something called a processional effect that Buckminster Fuller also talked about, and that is you don't know what the effects are of the things that you do, because just like you drop a pebble into the surface of water and it sends ripples out to a 90-degree angle from where you make your impact, you don't know what's happening over there or over there because of what you did or said. And if you're dropping good ripples in that are your ripples, your pebbles to drop in, that are yours to do, in your inner being, they are yours to do, then that's enough. You keep doing that over and over again, and you're going to create ripple effects. So they reach out. We have 6 degrees of separation on the planet from one person to another. That's not very much when you have over 8 billion people on it. That's wild. It's hard to even imagine, but we're connected by 6 degrees to every other person on the planet. Wow. And now we're connected because we are the neural net on the internet. Without us, the wires and the airwaves that send the messages through the internet, they'd have nothing to do. We are the cells of that body. We are the nerve cells of human consciousness on the planet. Okay. So there's much more I could say about that topic. I just want you to know that every little bit that you do, bring the stubborn ounces of your weight to what you can do in your little garden, in your little home, and band together with other people. And pretty soon you've got a movement that is unstoppable. And it is the direction of the consciousness of humanity. We are in an evolution of consciousness. We're the first species on the planet that gets to choose how we want to evolve, not so much physically, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually, relationship-wise. So we'll call that relationally, right? We get to choose. What do we want the world to look like? I want more love. I want more peace. I want more justice. And I want more connection. So we don't have all these people running around, men and women, saying, I'm lonely. I'm rejected. I can't get sex. Oh my gosh, really? Then level up your relationship skills. We can help you at Positively Hub. We have a whole course that we built. We've offered it 3 times, and I'd like to offer it again. It's really long, but I'll tell you what, you'll have the skills that you need, and you will be able to have some awesome, extraordinary relationships, not free of problems, but you'll know how to work through them. So that's my point. Some of my or certain areas like that, you've got yours. Do what is your zone of genius and get out there and do what your inner being is saying. I can do this one little thing. Well, then do that one little thing so well and do it with as many people as you can, period. And the whole world will change. All right. All right. I gotta stop. I'm on my pedestal. I'm on my, what do they call it when the preacher gets up on the thing? I'm gonna stop now because soapbox. Thank you. I'm on my soapbox. And anyway, much love to you all. Many blessings. And if you want to reach out to me, go to positively-hub.com. We have a new homepage. It actually works now. You can contact us, and it just gets better from here. All right. Love you all.
Yay.
I'm out.
Hey, so Jitul, did you have something?
Yes, a couple housekeeping things. AC, when you mentioned that we'll be sending out the revised text for the unions, how do people get signed up to receive that? Because I didn't hear how that works. And the one more note on that piece, we can have that. It'll take a few business days to get the revised version back from a legal team. So it can be sent out this week to people, not by Tuesday, because it's going to take them, the legal team, a little longer to get things returned to us after they review it.
Oh, okay. I thought you said on Monday. I'm sorry. No, not a problem. My
It's
apologies.
okay. I can send it over
So
the weekend, but they won't see it until Monday, and then it'll be this week before they send it back. That was my thing.
no, not a problem. I'm sorry for that. So you guys probably, I don't know, Friday then or Saturday. Definitely by next Saturday when we have our next meeting, we'll have that letter for everybody. You just go to iodnations.org. You sign up there because that will have your email address and the guys in the background. And again, always thank you to these people, Rakesh, Draco, and Kurt. They're amazing, amazing guys, and Joel, they will send out that letter with the revision. What we have right now, I think, is good, but we didn't have access to any legal means to us. And so now we do want to try to use them. So, but I definitely talk to people, you guys, about moving the retirement funds. And what we're talking about is unions, we're talking about is universities, because they are mass numbers of people. And when we work together, we get more attraction. But you yourself can also look to do the same things. Your company could do the same things. And these are discussions you could start now, along with these gardening clubs. So does anybody, I don't know if anybody is looking at the Substack, because we are on Zoom, to know if there's any kind of questions out there. I did put the letter to the governors out already while you guys were talking. So if you are subscribed to me, you should have that now.
Yeah,
I
I
want to
just
make
put
sure.
the link for the governors in the chat. I am in the Substack chat, by the way. I've been there for a while. But yeah, I put that link in there. And I have not saw any questions so far. So, but I do
Okay,
know
I just
that
want to make sure.
Jill wanted to say something.
Peggy, did you want to say something?
Oh,
Yes,
Jill,
I just
she's got
wanted
her
to say,
hand
it's
raised.
positivelyhub.com. Great, thank you. Yeah, I think this is great. It sounds terrific. And, you have my vote. Everything you said is really impactful. And it would be awesome if we can get this to go, I'm sorry. That's it. That's all I have to say.
All right, great. Thank you, Peggy. Thanks for being here. Thanks for everyone who showed up today. Thank you, because it needs participation. It needs people have, eyeballs and listening to what we're, asking. And if you feel that you want to do that, you need your help.
Yeah, I'm good at editing and things like that and marketing. So, I have sales and marketing background. I have all kinds of documents. I did documents for the government. I know customs and border protection. I know import export. I know shipping. I know a lot of logistics and things like that. So, when you were talking about expanding and how shipping is going to be affected, how it's affected right
Yeah.
now. You know, Americans have no idea what this could be like. I mean, it's going to be like a depression, like you said. And this
Yeah.
generation and the millennials are not used ready for that. So,
Yeah.
you know,
So if you
it's
have
going to
if you
be
have any ideas on the marketing of how to get this out to the shipping unions and to other areas,
yeah,
please let us know, 'cause that's something that we can be working on now in tandem while in behind the scenes. The legal team can look over everything. That would be perfect
yeah.
because the more people we have on board with it, the better. I think, did you have anything else to say? Because Gil wants to say something too, I see.
No, that's it. That's it. Thank you.
Peggy, any help you can give us? We appreciate. Thank you. Gil, what
Yeah.
do you want to say?
Go
Hi,
ahead,
I'm
Jill.
Jill. Jill. I'm going to change it to a J. Um, I'm just peddling something really quickly. So I know I was peddling the petition, but and it's only a thought for people to think about. But Andrew Tate has got a platform on here now, and is in the top 3 most prominent platforms. Um, I'm assuming most people will know who he is, and the hate and the misogyny, etc. And when I saw it, if I'm honest, I was automatically going to leave, because that's the type of thing I've tried to actively stay away from, and that's been why Substack has been so different. I don't understand why Substack are allowing that. I've done quite a post on my account, which is all there, and I've done a draft email for people to go straight to the CEO, etc. But he peddles misogyny, like, he changes his socks. And I mean, in the UK, he's facing 10 criminal charges for rape. In the Romania, he's facing alleged charges for trafficking and for sexual abuse of a minor. It's just unbelievable. And he goes into hiding. He was seen in Hong Kong last time, and British authorities tried to get him but didn't. And now he's on here large as life. And I've already seen women leaving because of it. I came across quite a few different posts yesterday, and other women saying, no, stay, we can ignore it. But we've ignored this stuff for so long.
So
And
here's what I'll say, just because we have like 4 or 5 minutes. You're absolutely
yeah,
right.
yeah.
And the fact that in the U.S. they allowed these brothers, because there's brothers, to come
Yeah,
into this
and
country when they were
Florida has
facing
got,
charges,
yeah, yeah.
they understand and they're fine. I mean, that's why the Epstein files haven't been released. That's why we have Rip Ketamine. I don't see anybody being prosecuted. But you're absolutely right with the Tate brothers and all the prosecution. And we have Musk, who's actually allowing pictures of children with AI to be made nude and put on the internet, right? Like these guys are about that. And Substack, just so you know, last summer, a lesser tech bro named Mark Andreessen bought into this platform, and they all push this shit, right? They have to have someone who's going to be the demon, someone's got to be the bad guy. So we don't look at the billionaires who are the problem, and it really is the billionaires that are the problem. And so they are trying to push it's the brown person, it's the immigrant. And now the latest thing is, because women are pushing back, it's the women. It's the women. And so in my mind, the fact that he came on here and automatically, did you see automatically he had 1 million followers? I don't see how that's even possible without some technological help in the background.
It's a
I
bunch of
I
do,
bots. If you
because I
look
think,
at his stuff, he's only got a few like reactions and comments and stuff like that. So they just loaded his page up with a bunch of fucking bots is what they did.
Yep.
And it shot him straight up. He was the #1 bestseller on my on my personal dashboard for a few days, even after, because there was a large campaign that went around for a couple of days to block and report. And even after that went, he was still at number one. So I think that just goes to show how much actual, what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, that they load his page up with a bunch of bots and then he shoots to the number one bestseller when he hadn't even done anything. Like my page is bigger than his pages, and I also haven't wrote my first article yet. So he's just, I don't know if it was
Got
a
the
rage
money.
bait kind of thing or what it was, but unfortunately we're going to run into that kind of thing, and I'm not going to sit here and tell people to ignore it, because we're just not going to be able to do that, especially if you're a survivor and you are familiar with his background and his cases that he has going on. It's not something that we can just sit back and ignore, and it's not something that I think we should sit back and ignore. I think we should be loud about it. I think we should be persistent and consistent about it and let them know that we really do mean business. There is a very large community of men on Substack that are with us, that are our allies and that are fighting for us. Uh, Qasim Rashid has been
Oh, he's
posting
great.
the same article every single day, multiple times a day on his Substack, because he keeps getting messages and comments from men attacking him for being an ally and helping us as us women. So we do have those people that are in our corner, and I just want to try and encourage everyone to not let one terrible, rotten apple to completely, poison your entire community. I have found my community on Substack. I have my algorithm at a point to where I don't even have to deal with a lot of the bullshit. Like, I haven't had to talk to anyone, not saying that I wouldn't like to sometimes if they can be civil, but I haven't even had to talk to a MAGA on Substack in months. I mean, my algorithm is locked down. So please don't let him discourage you, please, because
If
ultimately
I'm
it's
if I'm
fake.
yeah, if I'm honest, it's only because of coming here today and thinking I can deal with it if I'm doing something about it. What
Mhm.
I can't deal with is it happening in front of me and knowing what that's doing to people or to women particularly, and be silent. Like on Twitter you just get shouted down constantly and so on and so forth. And it was actually thinking about today that I thought, no, actually I'm going to share this and go from there. So but I think you've put that brilliantly, Karma. Thank you.
But I also want you to know like exactly what they're saying with these bots. There's no way that you come on and have 1 million people. There aren't that many people following him. I want to give you that. And as far as that Kasim, he is amazing. And the other day someone badmouthed him as a prick on here. And I turned it around on him. And he called us rat skin something. And I sent it to Karma. And I stood up for Kasim doing what he was doing. And I said, if you don't like the world you're in right now, over 70% of our Congress is men, and most of them are white. We've only ever had male leaders. So go look in the mirror. The fact that we have over 60% of women who die in pregnancy because the male they're with killed them, murdered them.
Absolutely.
Right. That isn't, you're afraid of being lonely. We're afraid of being killed. So, if you don't have a solution to you know, being part of the problem, because he is a man, he's accepting that men are part of the problem and he's trying to find a solution. That is what good men do.
Yeah,
All
I'm
you're doing
following
is
him.
whining. So,
I,
and
I,
I'm just saying that because we need to also protect these men who are standing up for us, and we need to make that be like, this is what a real man is. You're just a
and
pansy when you're whining.
actually, yeah, on what I've done on my own post, on my account, is actually said, decent men, you know, step up. This is when we need you to. Because as you said, there are men, who are on the right side and are on our cause and do get it. And hopefully they'll get behind it. It was just more, like I said, that I'm someone who can't. I either have to leave or do something about it. I can't just sit and allow it to keep happening. And a lot of women, as I said, sort of coming across different posts yesterday, are already going, including some writers, etc. And I just think that's hugely sad when they've invested so much into their accounts and their following. You're right, a lot of it will be bots, but he's got so much money. That's what he can keep plugging into it until he does get his followers on here, and then more of those accounts start. And I just think that's the first time I've really come across something like that because of who I follow and so on. I don't entertain the other side particularly. But I just think this is an opportunity to start at the roots on something and say, you know, we're actually bigger than that. As you said, you know, your followers are real people.
Yes.
You know, and they'll be the ones that Substack cares about keeping. So
Well, I mean,
it,
the thing is, I would turn them in. That's something you can do. I would support all these men. Like, I've been trying to actually post on the guys who are doing the right thing and say, like, this is what women want. This is the right response. Like, and encourage that so that the other men around that see, oh, this isn't cool by other men. It's not cool by women, right? And then the other thing is that I've been looking at ghost.org and a different alternative. And I've been talking with like your weirdo friend and a few other people about we need a parallel system to this. And the only reason I'm saying that is I've been seeing increasingly over the last 6 months is Andrew Tate was only the latest thing. I would say about a month and a half, 2 months ago, the bots, I really seen the bots start really coming in here. And they are making this worse and worse. And so we need a parallel, you know, people have been unsubscribed from me, other people. I know your widow friend actually had her whole blog deleted by Substack because it was really good on developing mutual aid. We are going to need to jump to a different platform. And so we need to have parallel communication so we can communicate on Substack, but we need to be communicating on something like a ghost.org or some other place because when this finally goes dark, we already have a different place we jump to and everyone knows where we're jumping to. So now at this point, Jackie had her hand up for a long time. And then I think we end the program because it's already been 2 hours.
Yeah, thanks very much, AC. And Jill, I so appreciate what you're saying, and Karma too, is about feeling traumatized. And here's what I want to say. Shala on Substack's chat messages going by made a good point. Block those people. Use your Substack to block. And the main point I want to make is do good self-care. You're an activist and you're a survivor. That means you have to balance the two sides of your competing needs, the need you have to make a difference and the need you have to protect yourself. And so when you need to take a mental break, emotional break, do it. There are enough of us out here. You can pass the baton. Just think about that in your mind. Use your imagination. You're passing the baton to those who are not taking a break right now. You don't even have to tell us you're taking a break. All right. Take a break in your garden. Okay. Go take a walk. Do whatever it is you need to do. Get a hug. Pet your dog or your cat. Have a cup of tea. I'm having coffee right now. Thank you, Xochitl. And I'm just saying, walk in balance with this. This is a very long race. It is a relay race, not a marathon. A marathon you have to run by yourself. A relay race, you have a baton and you pass it to the next person and you take turns carrying the baton. And that's why we work together. I also want to say that I have worked almost my whole adult life in one fashion or another with survivors. I can say me too about certain things too, which I'm not going to get into right now. But as a certified specialist in hypnosis for PTSD, I can tell you that your healing is the healing of the world. If you aren't working on your own healing and you need to, please, please, please find someone to work with to work on your healing. Because democracy requires healed, whole participants to the greatest extent that we possibly can manage. Because it's people who feel whole, who are best able to work with each other and not take it personally when we have disagreements, and then find consensus and find places we can agree so that we can create new policies, new structures, new ways of doing things so that everybody can have what they need. And if you're reactive because you're hurting, you are less helpful than you could be in your personal life and in any community or movement that you're participating in. If you have areas that you have knee-jerk reactions to people push your buttons easily because you're hurting. There's nothing wrong with the fact that you're hurting, but I'm encouraging you, please get help. It is not a weakness to recognize you could use some help healing and becoming stronger and more resilient. It's okay to ask for help and get it. And if you don't have any resources, then I know that mental health resources right now are really strained because the funding keeps getting cut. I know that. But oftentimes, like I have a program with our membership where you get an automatic discount to begin with. And if you're a member, then you get a sliding scale possibility that we can discuss one-on-one about what can you afford and what can we do to make it a reasonably fair exchange. I can't just do a lot of pro bono clients, but there are a lot of people who are mental health practitioners out there who do sliding scale. And you just have to find the right person for you and get access that way. So don't give up. If you don't know where to go, reach out to somebody like me or someone else in your community who does know how to connect you with resources. Because there may be resources you don't even know exist. Last thing I want to say, Xochitl, is that I also want to remind you that we've written a book that's almost finished. It's not quite finished. It's not published yet. It's called Mental Freedom, Mental Sovereignty. And it provides a lot of help in it for getting through any situation that you're healing from where you were undergoing manipulation, control, abuse. So anyway, that I just want to let you know you can reach out to us through our website, positively-hub.com. And so I'll let you take
So
the
I want to
mic.
follow up what you said because I think it's also really important to recognize that healing is simultaneous with action. And there is a point where if you're shutting down because you are feeling really traumatized because of people like Andrew Tate having a bunch of followers, at least so it seems, then it really is a point where you need to just take care of your own healing, where you maybe take some time apart. That's one option. But healing can also be taking action while you seek help for the support you need to remember how strong you are and how important you are, and that your gifts and your talents and your way of seeing and thinking and being in the world matter. So it's not either or, it's both and. You can be in action and have that be part of your healing as you seek support. And you can continue to do the healing work with someone who can truly support you in that. So I think that's a super important distinction to leave people on, rather than anyone out there who might be feeling like you can't participate in the actions to help change the tide. When of course you can, you're here and you are much stronger than you perhaps feel. And we are here to support you, all of us. You are not alone. So I really wanted to emphasize that. I think we've got to close things out. Do we want to bring people up for comments or questions, or is there anything else we didn't cover that we really need to before we close out?
Yeah, if
I think
anyone
we've
has any
given
questions, they can go ahead and put them in now. But I just wanted to go ahead and let you guys know that we will be here again next Saturday. I had a plan for today. I want everyone to know that my computer decided to take a crap on me, or so I thought. So yeah, my computer died, and then I plugged it up and wanted to get it going, but the screen was just completely black. And what it decided to do was turn my brightness all the way down so I couldn't see my screen when it died. So even though I did get a new laptop, I didn't need it. But anyways, so next Saturday, we will be here same time, 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern time for Women's Suffragette Saturdays. Hopefully my computer will be okay and I will be able to get this thing started the way that it was meant to get started. That's all right. Stuff happens. And we also do other shows throughout the week with IOD Nations, Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, same time. Today is just our women's meeting, which everyone is welcome, but it is a women's meeting, but everyone is welcome. Go ahead, Jackie. I know you was about to say something.
Not really, actually, Carmen. You're doing a good
Oh.
job wrapping it up. I think we had most people. We've given a number of opportunities for people in our Zoom room here to speak, and those who wanted to have. So we've had another successful meeting in my book, and thank you all for being here. Karma, you and AC particularly have done a great job pulling this together. And of course, we want to thank our guys in the background at IOD Nations. We have Draco and we have Rakesh, who've been doing the tech for us, and we appreciate them. And thanks very much, everyone.
Yeah, thank you all for coming. We'll see you next time. Bye.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And when Rakesh, when you get done there, would you please, when you have stopped the stream, let us know.
Draco,
But
stop
keep
the stream.
Yeah, I still see it up. I was just waiting.
And then Karma, you and AC and Soch thought and I need to hop on another Zoom. So let me give you a way to do that. Oh, I know how to get that faster and easier.
Done, Draco?
Yes, we are almost
So
there.
we are streaming.
So goodbye, good people. Hope to enjoy
Okay.
our show.
AC, are you able to copy a link?